So the difference between why and what for is that why is usually something that happened before, that comes before your question. Okay? So that leads to your question. And the what for is something that comes after your question, after that will come with your answer, an application. So that's if you imagine a line where your question is, why comes before and what for comes after. It's a simply way to differentiate both. Okay? So the important thing from now on is for you, whenever you read something, try to find the 7 magic in that text as we did here. Because it will help you see how a writer writes. And that's a very good way on not imitating the writer, but on understanding how he uses the technique and on learning the technique. And again, the Zen, okay, he says that the rules for writing, they are post hoc rules. Okay, they come after you wrote. So he says, and what he really thought was that the rule was pasted on the writing after the writing was all done. It was post hoc, after the fact, instead of prior to the fact. So you're not going to think about all the rules before you write. You're going to think about all the rules after you write. And he became convinced that all the writers, the students were supposed to mimic, wrote without rules, putting down whatever sounded right. Then going back to see if it still sounded right and changing it if it didn't. Okay? And if you ask many writers, and for the Brazilians, there are the Paraty International Literature Fair, where you can see many writers giving talks not only about their books, but about on how they write. And I'm sure that anywhere in the world you can find this kind of fair with many renowned authors giving similar lectures. And they all say the same. Okay, I don't know, I just write and rewrite until it sounds good. Of course they have a criteria. Maybe they never thought about it, but they do have the criteria. This is a good example. This is a Brazilian writer, a very famous Brazilian writer that lived on the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. It's called Machado de Assis. And those 3 citations come from a book called The Posthumous Memoirs of Brás Cubas. It's one of the few books that I saw that you can that are published also in English. Okay, so he would say the interesting about this book is that it starts with the main character Brás Cubas with his funeral. Okay, so the corpse are he's remembering all his life. So the memoirs, they start from when he's dead. And from time to time, he stops the narrative and he makes comments on the writing. And this is what I'm going to show you. But no, let's not lengthen this chapter. Sometimes I forget myself when I'm writing, and the pen just goes along eating up paper, to my great harm, because I'm an author. Long chapters are better suited for loggy readers. And we are not an in-folio public, but an in-12. Not much text, wide margins, elegant type, gold trims and ornaments. Design above all. No, let's not lengthen this chapter. In-folio, it's a kind of a book which is a very thick one, and in-12 is the opposite, it's a very thin one. Okay? So, as a writer, you want your public to be delighted with your text, not to be, tired after that. And again he says, I had an urge to suppress this chapter. This is a slippery slope. But after all, I'm writing my... No. I'm most certainly going to suppress this chapter. And this is something that you are allowed to do, okay? If you wrote and it's not good, cut it off, okay? You don't want people to criticize you. You want people to like what you wrote. So if you're not sure and you cannot make it better, and you cannot get help to make it better, cut it off. Other authors, they used to say that they publish about 10% of what they write, okay? And this is an example. But either I'm mistaken or I've just written a useless chapter, okay? So it happens to all the good writers, and probably happens even more with you, and you have to be attentive to that. Those are all tips on techniques. Okay, so this is because we know that Brazilian students have a lot of difficulty on writing, okay, in writer's block, we decided to create a kind of protocol to help them write better, okay? And of course, it's very difficult to create a protocol for a scientific paper. Well, maybe it's even easier to create the protocol because the scientific paper, you know, it's very topic distributed. But we know that students are supposed to write scientific papers in English, and we wanted them to communicate science to the general public. That's a real need in Brazil. So we create a protocol for them to write science communication short articles. Okay, and so we created a magazine that is online now, and inside the magazine you have the protocol that I'm going to show you. It is in Portuguese, but I will give you some the idea of the protocol. And after this school, I will probably translate the protocol in English as well, so foreigners can use this. The first step, the first thing you have to do is to tick on this sentence that says, I know that I'm writing a scientific communication article. Because as we first said on the second day, what is your audience? So if it's a science communication article, it's not a scientific article. And you have to write it in the proper way. So the first thing is to write your the title, okay? So before all, define a title for your article. When the reader searches for an article, the title is determinating for him to decide to proceed with the reading. Be concise, be precise, go straight to the point. Okay? Do not hesitate to use a good question or a good statement as a title. Okay? Also, do not fraud. It's not fraud. Do not cheat. Okay, your reader by stating in the title something that's not in the text. Okay. So go again, Thiago. So write the abstract. Then, if you had only 1 minute to say what to do, how would you say it? So it's the same idea. You have, and all those windows, they have a limit of characters. Okay, so you won't write too much, and that's the idea. So if you have only 1 minute to say, what would you say? Okay, and that's your abstract. Go down, choose the keywords. The keywords are very interesting because nowadays you use tags and keywords. The tags and the keywords are used to identify the information in this ocean of information that we live, this universe. And what that means? That means that they are very important, even more important than they were before. And people don't know how to choose good keywords. For example, many times they repeat the keywords, they repeat words that are already in the title. Okay, so for you to know, Google and all the other search engines, they look add the title and add the keywords. So if you use in the keywords words that are already in the title, you are missing opportunities to be found by your readers. Okay? So all those tips, they are written in this protocol. Okay, so the beginning, define your attendance, because you know you can decide to write an article for politicians to read, or for your aunt to read, or for children to read. That depends also, but it's important to have this in mind. Okay? So what's the general topic of your article? And you can write 3 sentences, okay? And you have to, we suggest that you write at least 1 phrase about what you think that your reader knows about the topic of your article. Because when you write an introduction, it's important to write what you think your audience knows, what you think your audience doesn't know, and what you think they should know for sure. Okay? So those are the 3 main ideas of this protocol. And you first write the first sentence of each paragraph. And then when we go down on the protocol, you will be able to write paragraphs about these first sentences. So first I ask you to write a sentence, only a sentence. And then it will be easier for you to develop an entire paragraph on that. Okay? Go down, go down. More. Okay, here is where you develop those 3 sentences. What your reader knows, go. What it doesn't know. You can write up to 5 paragraphs of what he knows, up to 3 paragraphs of what he doesn't know. Okay. And the climax, what you think he doesn't know but he should know, then I think it's only 1 paragraph. No, it's more than 1, actually there are 5. So that's when you are communicating the science. Go more, Machado. Oh no, okay. So it's important also in a moment, in one of these, what you think he knows, what you think he shouldn't know, you use some structures of the narrative model. So you have to say whoever criticized that information. Okay, and after that critic, if the conclusion was toward the first information of confirming the criticism. So after you finish this form, you press enter, and it comes to you a PDF with all your article structure. So you have your first draft, and you can go back to it as long as you want to rewrite it. Okay, it was a way of, and we also limit to 2 pictures and 2 tables. So you won't be crowding your reader with information.